So one of the things that I think is really important is take the human factor out of it, right? Which is what I've done. Energy absolutely heals. But when you're talking about Reiki, you have another person involved. So you have to understand that deep-rooted emotions or feelings or energies that they have can cross over. So yes, I believe in energy healing. Obviously, all of this is actually geared towards energy healing, but I've just taken the human factor out of it so it could be perfect.
Welcome to the Maha Marketing Podcast, where bold voices rise against the status quo. We champion functional medicine heroes fighting for real whole body health. These are the courageous men and women in your community taking on the institutional rot of our medical system. This podcast is your platform for purpose, integrity, and fearless strategy. Subscribe now and join the revolution in real health and authentic business.
Hey, welcome to the Maha Marketing Podcast. We are out of the office today. We are on location. We are not in the normal podcast studio and have an absolutely awesome rock star guest with us today. Tish Staley is a regenerative therapist amongst many, many other things, which I'm sure that she will get into. And her and my paths crossed. Both of us are right here in Greenville, South Carolina. And we've gotten to become good friends, and I just find her incredibly fascinating, the way that she brings in engineering and but still has the biological underpinnings around medicine that really just changes up a lot of the game. And I think that as people are becoming more and more aware to the different modalities in health, she's really at the forefront of it in developing some pretty incredible stuff. So I'm super excited about this conversation. Tish, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you. I've been really excited about this myself.
Yeah, you are a hard person to find very much information about,
Kind of intentional.
which is good. Yeah, right. It's so makes writing bios harder, but also now that we're doing a little bit of marketing work and things like that for you, you're going to be coming out of that box more and more.
Yeah.
So why don't you just tell the world a little bit about yourself and your background and how you ended up opening up True Health and
Yeah.
what got us to today?
Well, honestly, a lot of it was my personal struggles. I've had a lot of issues throughout the years, and I started out, really just wanting to be in natural medicine and really trying to find that pathway. I started working for GNC early on as kind of like when I was personal training earlier on in my years, I was a personal trainer, and I saw the difference it could make when your body was given the right things and how it could heal itself. And it kind of started me on this path of there has to be more, there has to be more. And I ended up having a bad car accident. And this is kind of what really pushed everything in this direction. And my lower back was really messed up, bad degenerative disc. I was born with lower back scoliosis. So at this point, I was told basically pain pills and pain management was my option. And I believe I was 25 at this point, and I was like, this can't be the answer. This is not all that's out there. And that's when I really started to do my deep dive on PEMF, red light therapy. But honestly, then there just wasn't a lot out there. And so I've told myself, like, I'm not giving up. I used to be a very serious lifter. They told me I wouldn't be back in the gym. The gym was my life. So I felt like everything got stolen from me and there had to be a way to get it back. So I began the warpath of education. I'm definitely a rabbit hole type, but one of the things that I like to do is I like to find the truth. I don't like just to find what's out there or just what people are saying. And I think that that's what led me this way. And then I found a PEMF therapist in Greenville right after I had moved here. She was an RN turned regenerative therapist. And I told her, I was like, I've tried everything else. Like, I'm just going to give this a try. And this was the PEMF. And so I first got on the mat and I'm like, you can start it whenever, like, I'm ready. And she's like, it's already on. And I'm like, don't feel anything. Maybe I made a mistake here. But I continued with it. And about 3 months in, I sat up in bed for the first time on my own without rolling over, without anything. And I just sat there and cried my eyes out because I was like, there's hope, right? And so then it was like, okay, warpath down this way. The red light therapy ended up coming in later on. She moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, and we still keep in touch every now and then. But it's just when I first had hope that after all these years, people telling me that there wasn't an option, and I'm 100% today. And that is due to PEMF, red light therapy, and then that was another thing that I kind of stepped into was the light therapy. And then I realized people didn't have it figured out. I had spent thousands of dollars on this very expensive piece of equipment, and it was supposed to do all of these things that were listed on the website, right? It's supposed to heal you, help you lose weight, like do all of this. And so I was so excited until it got here in office and I was getting subpar results. And I was like, what's going on? So I called the company and they're like, you can send it back. And I'm like, no, I don't want to send it back. I want it to work. So then my engineering side was like, well, okay, what's missing? What's wrong? Because I know light therapy works, right? But why is it so hit or miss? And so basically, I started taking things apart, putting them back together. And then I found a company who would do like all customs for me. And so I created this bulb and they thought I was a loony bird. So they're like, yeah, sure, we'll make it for you. Okay. And from that point on, I've really been able to focus light therapy. So, one of the things that people don't understand is it's a very broad spectrum, right? Okay. Now, if you're trying to accomplish one purpose, then you have to focus within that realm of the spectrum. And with a lot of this equipment, once you see, even the medical grade, they'll add like 4 or 5 different nanometers to one map. So what you get with this is chaos. You don't actually get any one purpose with that because you have to remember there's a frequency and then there's a vibration that follows. So if you're inducing chaos with those frequencies, then you're not going to induce healing. I know I've said a lot.
No, no, I love it. I think it's not only a great introduction to who you are as a human being and how you got here, but also can hear the passion coming out for
I
your
do get quite passionate.
for yeah wanting to figure things out. Has that always been something kind of intertwined within your life? Always figuring things out.
Oh, yeah. I am a huge science person. I love science. I love learning. And, my second encounter, which was awful, I had a skin cancer. This is a good story. Well, it ends up good. And I went and got it biopsied, and they said, okay, no problem. You'll be in here 2 hours. We'll take care of it. You don't have to take time off of work, nothing. And so I go in expecting this because this was in between. And so I had really high inflammation in my body, and this was something that was in my genetic code. That's why it expressed itself during this time. And so I go in, and 7 hours later, I'm still there. They had made a mistake and they butchered it, and it was a devastating, devastating journey. After that, I had dead arm syndrome. It was about 2 weeks post surgery. And they told me that basically there was nothing I could do but physical therapy, and eventually it would probably lead to amputation. And so I went in for a 2 hour, very quick removal, and I came out with a year and a half worth of struggling trying to get my arm to work or feel anything at all. This is when I started really moving into light therapy because I needed it for myself as well. They told me I would never lift again. I may have, 60% at best. And that would be if I followed through with all my physical therapy. And it just was another time in my life where I felt so hopeless and like the system is just so broken because they just left me. Oops, we made a mistake. And, so yes, definitely a lot of my personal struggles have led me to continue to dig deeper. And today I have 100% function in my arm. Couldn't even notice the difference. I can lift just as much with both arms. Actually, I'm lifting more now than I ever did early on in my days. So that was another thing that really pushed me because I knew that light therapy is what I needed along with PEMF. And so I was able to figure out a way to focus the regenerative factors of mesenchymal cell reproduction within your system, which is completely different than just activating your immune system responses. The cell work is different. So any genetic mutations that I had are now null and void because I'm using perfect cell reproduction.
That's what I'm ready to get into.
Yeah.
Well, one of the nice things is I'm not educated in the medical side, and so I feel like if you can get me to explain or get me to understand things through your explanation, then our listeners will be very well off. About half the people that listen to the show right now are medical professionals in some sense, and the rest are just people that are interested in the industry or in the technologies and this new stuff. So could you explain to us the function of the light therapy, like the different ones between like red light therapy, the other therapies, and what it is that you're actually trying to dial in when you're speaking about the different nanometers and the flaws in the current ones?
Okay. Yes. So when you're talking about a healing, you're going to need to be using a certain number of nanometers. It depends on what your purpose is. Light therapy in general, pretty much on every level of the spectrum except a 633, is going to activate and energize your cells. Your mitochondria, which is like the battery for your cells. This is fed by nutrition that we eat, vitamin D, outside, oxygen. But when you're under light therapy, the correct medical light therapy, it can change the entire level of energy within your cells in whatever nanometer, and that's where this comes in. How deep it can reach is the cells that it will affect, right? Okay, so if I'm on the close side, the red side, I'm getting cells with skin, right? So to say that a say 633, 830, those are probably the most popular that you'll see like on Amazon or even in medical equipment. For those to be claiming that they can do deep healing is just not science. So it can only change the function of the cells and the depth it can reach. And that's where I see unintentionally a lot of false advertising. They'll say this will help you to lose weight, this will help you to do all of these things. There's a totally different nanometer based set for that. So, in understanding the spectrum, when you're trying to accomplish a certain purpose, you're going to want to be specific to those nanometers. And you can even get as specific as everything in your body runs on a frequency, right? Okay. So I can create a vibration, a frequency of healing and spread that throughout your entire system. Now, if I've induced that into your system, it's going to be approximately 12 to 24 hours before that energy level can come down at all, right? So, with that, you get that entire time in which your body is put in a mode of healing itself. So that's why light therapy, when used correctly, is so amazing. But it's not just while you're there. You're getting like a 24-hour healing session. And then the more you do it, the longer it lasts. And then eventually you'll change every 84 cells or 84 days, you're a new set of cells. So if I'm constantly changing the energy in your cells, you're rapidly reproducing perfect cells, right? And in 84 days, you're a brand new set, anyways. So imagine with the energy level, everything being perfect, how that would fit together in healing the body from the inside out.
That's really interesting. So with frequencies and vibrations and everything, is there any validity to like the listening to frequencies will change up how your cells are functioning?
Okay, so that's a really good question. In your mind, yes. So when you're listening to things that are calming, you're telling your nervous system that you're safe. And there are certain frequencies that you can listen to that relax your nervous system and take you out of a fight or flight situation, which would induce a healing situation within your body. So I do believe in sound therapy to a point. I think also sometimes it's misadvertised and people don't understand it because in that particular case, you're not actually changing your cell function. You're just changing your nervous system function to tell your body everything is safe and okay. If that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. So you're not actually like putting in the work. You're just kind of taking in the message
Yes.
of it, and your body is reacting to that.
Right, exactly. It's more short term when you're talking because as soon as the sound goes off, you're going to fall right back into whatever brain pattern you had within a short period of time. Where when you're completely changing the functionality of the energy within the cells, which is what light therapy does, it's totally different. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes total sense. You're bringing me back to when I used to live in New York City. I used to work like 2 blocks south of Times Square, and so I used to walk through Times Square all the time. But I had these noise canceling Bose headphones, and I'd always like be rocking out to some peaceful music, but I always remember getting to the office, taking it off, and then like the sound of New York City would hit me. I'd be like, oh, that's gone. And so I related to that very very well. So with your kind of like working mastery towards of light and the therapies that go with it, do you have quite a few products that you are custom building to kind of match the outcomes that you're looking for them to deliver? Would you mind getting into those a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So, on the medical side of it, I have built several different pieces of equipment for specific healings of certain things. And actually, this year is kind of the second year in developing more of the anti-aging and really understanding that side of it, because first it was about, okay, how do I heal, right? And now it's about like, I'm great, I just want to be young forever. So that kind of fueled it as well. So I really started doing a deep dive in the cosmetic side of it, which, as you know, it's totally different. And to put them even close together on the spectrum, in my mind, is absolutely ridiculous, which is what most people do. And when you understand the spectrum the way it is, for instance, I can take a cosmetic piece and I can add some health benefits to it, right? But I'm not going to say, oh, this is going to heal you, right? No, it's going to heal your skin. It's going to regenerate either fascia, it's going to cause a detoxing, which is very important, which is what a lot of people leave out of like the face and neck mask, is you don't have the detox factor, right? So you're activating all of this healing, but if someone's lymphatic system is failing and or their nodes aren't where they need to be, then it's got nowhere to go, right? So it's very important when doing cosmetic that you also work with the lymphatic system as well in healing anything. So that's the biggest difference I would say with my face and neck mask, is you get that total detox so that that healing process, it can carry everything out and then begin to regenerate. So healing from the inside out basically is the whole premise of light therapy in general. And then I had a friend challenge me on something. She tans on a frequent basis, and I always tell her it's so bad for you. Like, don't use tanning beds. And so a while ago, she challenged me to make a healthy tanning bed. And I was like, girl, I got too much on my plate. But then I was thinking, I was like, okay, you know how you understand the spectrum, like this could be done, right? And so I actually created the world's first, I believe it's the first, all natural tanning bed. So it's phototonically responsive to bronzers, so you can get that instant glow. But then long term, it activates your melanin reproduction and it also helps to heal the skin as well. So it's very anti aging. So I'm really excited about that one. It's actually on its way right now, and I cannot wait to get it set up because I'm definitely going to be in there all the time. But it's another thing about just bringing like to people, even on that level. People want to feel good about themselves. They want their skin to be healthy. People are tanning to look good, and then the side effects are just devastating. I honestly don't know how tanning beds are even legal from a perspective of what it does to you cellularly. It's literally slowly cooking your insides, unfortunately. But these are the two things that I'm super excited about. They're my newest products. And so the glow beds are definitely going to take the world by storm, I feel like. I hope so anyway.
Now we're super excited about it. We're gonna take a quick pause. We'll be right
Yeah.
back.
Okay.
All right, so the glow beds, is that's the official name? Glow beds? Can we say
I
that
think
or?
so. I really don't want it to be associated with tanning. And I want people to have a healthy glow. And so I feel like it's official. Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and stamp that one.
That's awesome. And what is the process for the people being able to start utilizing it or tell their local med spa or tanning location that they should
Yes.
start looking into them?
So I'm working with a few right now. We've got them located. They'll be in 3 locations, and we're just kind of testing the waters, working out any small kinks. I've got about 3 different designs. The first one I went with was actually portable because when working with some of these salons, they had limited space. And so putting a giant tanning bed in there wasn't going to be effective for them. So this version is actually portable, which I'm really excited about. But the other versions moving forward, they'll just be options for ones that are also similar to a tanning bed, but still a little bit different. We really want to make ourselves a name that not associated with tanning beds. And I really don't want them to look like it, if that makes sense, because there's just such a negative connotation to it.
That was kind of one of the questions I had is like, are they as big as a tanning bed? Are they stand up? Are they,
Okay.
how do they?
So the first
What are
version actually is a mat and you lay on it and then you've got a piece that comes over your face. So it's you've got two places and you actually turn just like if you were laying out in the sun. So that's the first version. The second version that I'm working on right now, which is a lot more stationary, it just kind of looks like a U and you just get underneath it and same thing, you just turn just like you're laying out in the sun.
It's very cool. I like that it has a
Oh,
little
yeah.
bit of the beach vibe to it too as well. Are there different settings within it as far as how it all
Okay,
works?
so yes, I wanted it to be about something that was very versatile because you do have people that are just looking for skin healing and maybe their melanin production is already where they want it to be, but they just want to heal. So there are 5 different settings that are built in. So you can put it on just a healing the skin mode. And then you can also put it on, okay, I'm actually activating their deep melanin reproduction and I'm setting bronzer mode. If that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. So would this be an option for those people that like have the where they're losing
Yes. Melanin.
melanin, right? In their skin? Like my mom has like
Mhm.
blotchy wrists, blotchy arms. Would this be something that she could utilize that would
Yes,
actually repair some of that?
absolutely. So, with a certain frequency, you activate your deep melanin reproduction, which is also very anti-cancerous. So, this is built into the equipment intentionally through frequency. And so, over a period of time, that could heal. You would obviously be working like specifically on that area. So with this, you don't have to because you're inside the whole bed. So it's going to cover your entire body. And remember before, it does work on the same principalities as far as in as deep as I can reach with a nanometer. Those are the cells that I'm healing, right? This also has an activation for your lymphatic system so that you will be detoxing as well as you are healing. So yes, that would definitely be applicable to her.
What are the symptoms of the detox for your skin and for all that?
If you're well hydrated, really not that much. Just maybe slight upset stomach if somebody doesn't hydrate. Really, it's very mild. So these are not as intense as the medical equipment. So it's not having that massive detox right away. It activates your lymphatic system, which is different. So when I'm activating your entire lymphatic system, I'm not overworking the nodes. If I'm working node specific, that's when you can have heavier detoxing effects.
And then what's the well, I guess what's the long term plan for the glow beds? Do you have any aspirations to eventually open your own chains, or are you just looking to be a manufacturer? Are you looking to
Good question.
what's the plan?
And my brain goes all over the place on things like this. I have ideas pop up at 3 o'clock at night. I really would like
Mhm.
to basically replace tanning beds in totality because I do believe that they're a huge problem in our whole entire system. And so that would be the ultimate goal. I do want to just pretty much be manufacturing and educating right now, is really what I'm trying to move towards, and not so much in office. So, yes, I would probably just stick with manufacturing and educating.
All right, now I have a question that might be stupid. But, I hear you bounce back and forth in your terminology between like frequency, vibration, and then light. And so light, I always think light or direct waves. Am I to understand that the light is actually so everything? Certainly have the understanding that everything ebbs and flows. Everything has some sort of curvature. Nothing. There are no straight lines in nature, right? Even with light, is when you're adjusting nanometers and things like that, is that determining like how deep that wavelength is going, and that's determining like how deep it could go in, or just explain this to me
Okay,
like I'm a
sure.
10-year-old.
Yes. Okay. So the different nanometers can reach a different depth. Yes. But then you also have to understand they come with that vibration frequency, right? And that's what resonates within your system. So essentially, say I'm working on with the glow beds. Okay. So that's going to be on the lower spectrum, right? I don't need to be all the way over here on the medical spectrum, really high on the infrared side, when really I'm just talking about healing the first 3 layers of skin, right? Now, with that, I can activate what's called a symphony. This is going to be a little bit difficult to understand.
Yes, let's go.
So, the way it works is when you're putting nanometers together like this, you're either going to ping off of each other and or they're going to connect and then resonate, right? Okay. So Basically, what I've done is I've found a way to connect the frequencies prior to entry to the body, right? So they already have their purpose. They're not trying to find each other, they're in perfect harmony as they enter. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah. No, I mean that makes sense. So with most of the systems right now, I'm going to explain my version, and you let
Okay.
me know how accurate I am. With most of the versions right now, they're kind of just set up to be generic. They're getting some depth of penetration with it, but it's not necessarily very targeted. It's just kind of generally hitting the cells and having some sort of reaction, but not having a always like the ideal reaction. Whereas yours, because you have these different frequencies, different nanometers, that is actually, and there's multiple variables
Hmm.
within it. And because you are dialing it in before it's even entering into the body, it's able to more precisely go to where you're trying to go to get the outcome that you're
Exactly.
trying to get.
Yes. I like to call it focused light therapy. Yes,
Focus like therapy.
exactly.
That's cool.
So it's not trying to figure anything out. It's not pinging off of anything. It's an absolute symphony prior to entry. And I think that's also the biggest issue they have. I have multiple machines, and I don't claim that any of them do what the other can't. So, another thing I want to touch base on is you can have some healing when it comes to you might get two or three frequencies correct, right? And a mat. And it's going to take a very long time using this to see a real result, right? With focused light therapy, you can get specific. I want to heal this. I need to heal this. There is, sure, I have one mat, was a good example, my sports recovery mat, right? Okay. Well, if you use that long enough, your whole system is going to change, right? Because you're feeding your cells constantly. So positive things are going to happen. But I'm not going to give that mat to someone and tell them that it can do the same thing as my medical grade mats in here, if that makes sense. Because in short term, I can fix someone um, in about 3 months. Okay. If they were to use that at home every single day for about a year consistently, they would be able to heal the same. But the time span is much, much different, if that checks.
So are I'm gonna get into some weird questions now. Are there any is there any light therapy that directly like lengthens the what is it, the telomeres that are a direct indication of length of life and
Okay.
things like that?
Yes. So, with the activation of your embryonic cells, that is a specific nanometer. And yes, that is possible.
So you
Yeah.
found the
Oh,
fountain of
yeah.
youth.
100%. Listen, I plan on I want to look about 25 and then just stay there. Like, that's it.
That's great. That's great. And then the red light therapy mask that you have. My wife has been using it. My wife sings your
Thank you.
praises too, by the way. Her hip, she said, is significantly better. I mean, she's active. She's doing yoga. She's doing all the things that she said. I actually haven't been in pain in a
Awesome.
couple weeks now, and it's kind of crazy that she was really struggling with it after the second kid. But the red light therapy masks, she's using it, and she's like, I'm doing it in faith right now. Like I don't know that I'm gonna see anything right off the bat. My wife has pretty nice skin as it is, and she's pretty much given herself, I'm dedicated to doing this for 60 90 days to see how I feel. And she's probably about 30 days in right now, I'd say, of using regularly. But she's super excited about it, and listening to you kind of explain that technology was pretty fascinating. Is it is it all that much different than the glow beds? Is it significantly different?
Yeah,
Could you kind
sure.
of give me like the full
Okay.
breakdown of the red
Absolutely.
light masks?
So the red light masks are phototonically responsive to bronzers, but they do not inactivate your long-term melanin production. They are, that's the one thing that's the biggest difference. So the healing factors as far as with skin and activating your lymphatic system, yes, youthfully, but in a long term, you're going to get way more melanin increase with the glow bed. So for instance, if you're not using a bronzer with this, you're not going to tan at all, if that makes sense. If you're using the glow beds, your melanin production will increase. But the healing factors, as far as skin deep, are the same principalities, just slightly tweaked.
Apologies if I keep looking over my corner. Every time I hear a noise, I have a baby in another room
No
here
worries,
that's
no worries.
jumping around. So I would really love to the ones that you can at least talk to. You have some absolutely
I
incredible
do.
success stories. with the modalities that you use. Would you mind going into like
Sure.
two or three? Obviously, HIPAA
Right. Yeah.
compliance and
No
all the
names
things,
needed.
and
Yeah.
but yeah,
Okay.
please.
So one of my ones, I feel like that's like my biggest one because medically it's impossible. He's a veteran and he was 100% disabled. And when he first started seeing me, um, could had lots of trouble walking. He had had a stroke. Try to remember everything. Terrible neuropathy, terrible fascia freeze on one side, and just overall very poor quality of life. He had been through a lot. So also there was a lot of things there mentally as well. And he just got a checkup. And he actually didn't go to the VA. He went to his other doctor. And she literally told him, she said, the nurse walked in and said, "This can't be you." She said, "It's impossible. This blood work it can't be you." She said, "I'm looking at your medical records. You're 100% disabled, and yet you're standing in front of me 100% healthier than me." And this is a test where they test your organs, they test your nervous system, they test your brain function, they test everything. And so it's so exciting because technically, according to the VA, he's 100% disabled and he now golfs. He can pick up his grandkids. He's so active. He's back in the gym. He ended up losing about 40 pounds. So just overall being able to get your life back, that's probably the one that I'm the most excited about because the paperwork's there. So,
Can you get into what modalities you actually used
okay.
with him?
So I used a combination of PEMF therapy, several different modalities of light therapy, some organ specific, and some just for overall healing and health. And then I also used EMS, which is electrical stimulation of helping to regenerate and train your nervous system.
Does that explain the difference between that and like the ab machines? I've used those ab
Yeah,
machines that
okay.
shock the crap out of you.
So, they're way stronger than a TENS unit. So a TENS unit works on the principle the same as in trying to activate so that the muscle doesn't have disuse syndrome. But with this, it actually teaches that nervous system to fire because it's pulling it in a straight line, where a TENS unit won't do that. It will activate.
What do you mean by pull it? I don't really
Okay.
understand what you mean.
So I guess the best way to describe it is the electrical current is activating the nervous system and it is pulling to a certain area. So say I'm working on the calf, right? Wherever he has feeling, that all that nervous system has to regenerate, right? Well, as this is happening, as you're placing it further and further down, you're actually teaching it to fire correctly, if that makes sense.
So yeah, I'll explain
Okay.
my version, and you know I'm right. Worst case scenario from this being like your first interview for anything like this, you'll at least like have answers to all the
Oh,
silly
there you go.
questions that I have. So say like an ab machine that is sending electric currents into it. It's hitting the muscle, and the muscle's like, oh, I have to react, and it forces you to do that like crunch. Whereas this, it seems like it's sending some sort of electromagnetic pulse, where it's kind of signifying, hey, you should be taking action, and because it's not taking action, it's kind of slowly teaching it to start taking that
Yes.
action.
Yeah, kind
Kind of.
of. So yeah, it gets a little bit complicated when it gets into those different ways because when you're using different wavelengths and you're using different strengths or you're targeting nerve specific, see, I think the easiest way to say it is like a TENS unit targets the muscle reaction, right? Okay, with a AMS, you're actually targeting the nervous system. You still have a nervous system reaction like the crunch, right? But you're actually targeting the muscle with TENS, and with the other machine, you're actually targeting the nervous system. Does that make a little more sense?
Yeah, definitely does. That certainly clarifies. I go into this having a very rudimentary knowledge of our meat bodies and like how it all works. I got some high school biology behind me. That's about it. Which is also fascinating because I had a conversation with a guy who he is a huge advocate of Reiki, and like I don't know anything about Reiki, but it was a very interesting conversation because this guy's sitting here talking to me about energies and deeply seated energies, chakras, and getting into all of it, which is very foreign to me. I don't know, I don't understand it, any of that, but I 100% believe that there is so much outside of our senses, outside of our perceptions that impact our health and impact our energy levels and our mentality and all sorts of things. So, what is your mindset around all of those things?
Okay.
Because you kind of balance in the two
Yes.
worlds of medicine and also like
Right,
the energy
exactly.
world.
So one of the things that I think is really important is take the human factor out of it, right? Which is what I've done. Energy absolutely heals. But when you're talking about Reiki, you have another person involved. So you have to understand that
Mm,
deep-rooted emotions or feelings or energies that they have can cross over. So, yes, I believe in energy healing. Obviously, all of this is actually geared towards energy healing, but I've just taken the human factor out of it so it could be perfect.
that's very interesting. Because he was saying how the first Reiki instructor he had, like the guy walked in the room and he was like, "Oh, this is gonna work." He like could immediately feel uh the energy coming off of the guy, and he said, and then he went into that guy wasn't there one day or something. Someone else came in, and he just stood up and he was like, "No, yeah, no,
Hmm.
this isn't." He could feel it. He said, which kind of speaks to what you're saying. I guess if you're, I guess it's that way with all medicine,
Yeah,
right?
and I think that too, it's, some people think it's like far off or on the deep end when you start talking about energy. But if you really look at the root of science in general, everything was created with a frequency, which is an energy, right? So if this is how we were created, then how can it not be how we heal? How can it not be the answer to everything? And I'm a person that I deeply love quantum physics. And so I can understand it without taking God out of it, right? Because when you put God back in science, it makes perfect sense, right? And so that has been something that's really led me down the path of understanding how to take the human factor out and leave the energy healing in. And I think that some people probably can have it right, but you do have to understand when you're in that field, you're going to affect it, right? 100%. And so, yes, I deeply believe in quantum physics and energy healing. And I've just, like I said, taken the human factor out of it.
Yeah, reduce as many variables as you could. You don't need someone that's got some past
Right. No,
traumas
exactly.
passing that right on to you, right?
Yeah, that's one we need to get into in another, how your nervous system responds and stores that. It's pretty incredible. And it's actually the answer to a lot of things. I've pushed this theory on a lot of people, and then we'll have to do a whole one on that.
Yeah, I'd be very interested because I mean, I don't believe that I'll ever be the Paul I want to be. Like I have a hard time taking a lot of pride in anything I do because I'm always becoming, right? I'm working on becoming that version of myself and I don't think I'll ever get there. But I've always said like, oh, you're not that great a business owner, right? Like I'm good at sales, people love me, people buy from me because they like me. But then like I developed a really really awesome AI system that works really really well and does these things and like I've built a multi-million-dollar company. I'm like, maybe I'm actually okay at this. And then as soon as I started like admitting I was okay at this, things started
Hmm.
taking off. And I was like, oh, maybe I had a very limiting energy around it that I was like, maybe I'm not that good. I'm not, not this, not that. I think that there's so much to it that uh I don't know, do you think it's intentional? Do you think that people are waking up to this or do you think it's been intentionally suppressed us to understand
It's
things
been
like this?
intentionally suppressed, absolutely. So, one of the things I'll touch on really quickly, because I had an example of this so perfect. I had a patient come to me, blood work off the charts in a negative way, and worked with me for about 4 months, I think it was, and told me nothing had changed. I still feel the same. I'm not making progress. I still have all the same issues. I said, okay, let's get some blood work done because I'm seeing you all the time. You're improving. You're walking now. You're not using the cane. Perfect blood work. Couldn't ask for better for her age or anything else. But her belief system about herself was keeping her there. Now, physically, there was nothing wrong with her. You could have put her through every physical test and she checked. But to herself, she said, no, I'm not better. And she deeply believed that. And so, yes, I do believe that deep rooted beliefs about ourselves can change the energy around us and tell us what we can and can't do. Because if you think about it, if you think you're unlimited, then nothing is off limits to you, right? So,
Very sure. Sometimes that's been coming through my prayer life lately a lot, which is that's also one thing I absolutely love about the alternative medicine space. There's so many
Yes.
Christians, spiritualist people that like nothing's woo woo anymore, right? Like acupuncture 15 years ago
Right.
was woo woo, right? Cupping was woo woo, and chiropractic care was even woo woo not that long ago. And like now it's mass adoption, and but within that, having some of these conversations and being able to like talk about a prayer life, talk about a spirituality around your health, it's really fascinating. It's also like very liberating because I don't have any friends that I can talk to about that because so many people just aren't there yet, right? Like if they we've been so brainwashed by the allopathic methods, cut you up or throw a chemical at you, and if that doesn't work,
Right.
sorry, you're you're screwed. And I went through that at the VA with Lyme disease. They misdiagnosed my Lyme disease for 2 years, and so I was foggy and like I had blotches on my skin, and they thought I had fibromyalgia, and they thought I had this, they thought I had that. Went through the gamut, and it wasn't until I went to a DO actually who was like, "Hey, actually, I bet that you've got Lyme. Let's." And whatever tests the VA did for my Lyme disease, like didn't catch it, but this guy did, and just changed up my lifestyle, changed up my nutrition on some things, and I felt a million times better in like 2 months. Um, and there's so many of those stories out there. So what, knowing that it's kind of suppressed, are you optimistic about so many people kind of waking up to new ideas around health and spirituality in our
I
place?
do believe there are carriers. I believe there are forefront runners. And I truly believe that there's going to be an awakening. People are going to start to see truth. And it is nice that you can talk about God because He is ultimate truth, right? And through my entire process, seeking Him is what really gave me all of this knowledge because I was seeking truth, right? And so I don't ever take credit for, I don't have an engineer background. So how can I be engineering equipment that is far surpassed what they actually made? And so I do think that it's important that we understand and recognize that He is ultimate healing, He is ultimate love. So that's something too that I think people are going to start opening up. I truly do. I have to believe that. And I'll be honest, I've never been quite this bold. This is actually one of my first videos that I felt like I should do. It was time. And it's coming. It's all coming. I truly believe it.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, Google search trends. So I balance in the world of I enjoy this stuff. I try to be a good Christian dad, business owner, all the things. Try to operate. I name my company Honorable Marketing almost as a way to hold myself accountable. Like can't be getting 1-star reviews on Google if I'm called Honorable Marketing, right? Like so it's like a little bit of a test even with it. It did go really well with the military veteran side though too, so kind of all played together. But with that, I think even how people operate with each other, I think that it's impossible for us today to like look at corporations, to look at institutions, to look at just how much they've failed us in so many ways, not on a financial financial means, but in a like taking care of the spirit. Like the fact that a corporation, I was just having this conversation the other day, the fact that a corporation's main function in existing is to generate profits
Mhm.
above all. It doesn't mean that there has to be some sort of evil cabal that's controlling Pfizer and Moderna and, you know, vaccine manufacturers and pharmaceutical companies. Yeah, there's probably some pretty horrible people that are making decisions there. But also, like their root core function is to make profit over your health, to make profit over the
Mhm.
outcomes. So and the reason that conversation came up was because somebody had showed me that the main sunscreen manufacturer has benzene in it, which is one of the top cancer
Mhm.
causing things, and yet only I don't remember what company it is. I could easily look all this up and make myself sound a little more intelligent than this. But only 14% of their profit came from products. 70% of the company product or profit came from pharmaceutical drugs that treat cancer. So it's like you get one end of the spectrum of the corporation that's giving you cancer, another end that is profiting off of treating your cancer. And that, hey buddy. I'm gonna pull
Yeah.
him up here in a second. We have a
Aw.
special guest with us today, which is my son. Here you go. We'll play a little camera action here.
Aw.
Hey, bud, what are you
Hi.
doing down there? Playing with a pile of cords, of headsets and things like that. But yeah, so you're under the feeling that there's the awakening is fully on, and this is why you're starting to feel comfortable talking about things. And do you think that this is like a divinely inspired awakening? Do you think it's just human nature that we kind of come across? Do you think it's all grand design? We talk Book of Revelations, uh, and towards the end times, knowledge. People will finally gain knowledge and truth. I fall
Yeah,
somewhere
no,
in the
it's
spectrum. I
I
understand it
definitely
all.
feel it's divinative. And I'll tell you, even before I got on this call, I was like, okay, how far do I go? What do I do? And it was so clear to me, be bold. This is coming. Healing is coming to this nation, and it's going to be through light therapy. And it's something that I'm so convicted within my heart and soul that I want this for our nation. I want true healing for our nation. And there are so many of us that are rising up, and so many of us that are going to stand together that it's happening. And yes, I believe it to be very divinative.
Yeah, I wonder if there's any like good groups to start
I know.
joining, getting into. I mean, I feel like some of the stuff obviously with RFK, and he seems like he's pushing for a
Hmm.
lot of truth with Casey and Callie Means, and kind of like the from an administrative standpoint. I don't think Trump is sitting here coming out saying like we need truth
Right.
above all. But I think that he is so that some of the right people have
Hmm.
surrounded him that are in positions of power where I'm cautiously optimistic, as long as you know AI
Right.
doesn't get us first.
No, so I would love to sit down with RFK. I really truly believe that he does have a heart to help people to expose the system for what it is. And I would really love to be a part of that. So maybe one day I will meet him. That would be great. And then I could say, oh, here's all your tools to do what you're trying to do.
That's a career goal right there. Right? Glow beds to
Yep.
make the money, build the influence, spin that into a national stage.
Hmm.
What do you want to
Hi,
say?
sweetie. Aw, natural podcaster.
I've never had a. I was about to say I've never had a
I
baby on
love
a
him though.
podcast
He's
before.
so cute.
He- he's very chill. He's got a little scratch on his nose right now, but and two brand new little teeth. So he's 8 months. This guy Maverick, and you could tell from naming our children. We have Lennox,
Oh, wow.
Arizona. Lennox is so he's named after Lennox Ave in New York City where Lauren and I met, and then Arizona because I don't know if I ever told you this story. I don't know if I ever even told the story on the show, but we were supposed to get married in April 2020, so we had to cancel an entire destination wedding in Miami 3 weeks before it. Lauren was working at the Waldorf Astoria Beverly Hills, so she got furloughed because all the hotels were scaling back. My first 5 clients in my company, I opened my company October 2019. So my company was only 6 months old. My first 5 clients were all large restaurant groups. So my entire company that I just built up 6 months, and I was like, wow, we're really good at this. Let's go. Let's go. Lost every single client I had. Yeah. And so we were obviously at a very weird time in our life. Like we're supposed to be getting married, canceling that. All my clients are canceling. She's getting furloughed from her job. What do we do? Uh, And so instead of, living in fear as the world constantly tells you to do, we went and rented a camper van and we drove to the closest town that still had courthouses open, which was Parker,
Oh,
Arizona, just across the border from California. We got married. I paid a guy $50 to be our witness. He's outside the probation office smoking a cigarette and got this guy. But that's why Lennox's name is Arizona. And then Maverick is, obviously he's going to be a little maverick, going to be a little rebel. But his middle name is Stone because there's so many times in the Bible in which God says to lay a stone as a symbol of your say obedience to him.
hmm.
Getting tired. So that's why he's Maverick Stone. So we've even kind of incorporated our, the mentality that we want our kids to have. And I truly feel like it's an energy that my kids have. My 3-year-old is already the leader of every single little group of kids that he interacts with. And I don't think that's genetic. I think it's because he
Hmm.
sees that I pride
Yes.
myself on being a leader. And I think that, that energy gets passed off along. This guy here, is a little adventurer. I mean, he's 8 months old and he's already climbing stairs and everything. I'm like, dude, chill out. Like, we don't need to be going too
Right.
crazy too fast. But what would you say are some of those components in your life that help you to be a fantastic healer in that? Because it's a lot more than just engineering knowledge and
Mhm.
biology, right? You need to incorporate a lot of things. I'd love to hear your
Yeah,
perspective on that.
absolutely. So my whole life was changed after I became a believer. My whole life got saved, actually, literally got saved. And I had been searching for God for so long, so long. And he had been so represented to me poorly by so many people. I had been hurt by so many people in the church. And, so I was like, God, I was like, I don't understand. Why are we put on this earth to be miserable, to be in pain, then to just die? Like, this can't be it. And so, like I do with everything, I was like determined. I knew there was a divine, okay, but I did not know who he was. And so I told him, I said, listen, if you're real, I need you to show yourself to me. I am asking you to show yourself to me. About a week later, a lady comes into my office. I start doing some work on her, and she's sitting across from me. And I'm just like, what is that feeling? I want what she has. I don't know what it is, but I want it. And so I continued to treat her. And she was like, hey, do you want to get some coffee one day? And I was like, oh, this is a patient boundary I don't normally cross, but I was so curious. I was so drawn to her. And so I met her for coffee and we got to talking, and she just loved me. And I was like, I don't understand how you can love me. You don't know me. And at this point, I believed in my heart that I was unlovable. That's one of the deep rooted belief systems that had held me back for so long. And she was so patient and she was so kind and she was just there every time, just there. And I've adopted her now. She's officially my mother. And I told her, now you can't get rid of me. But it was just, she did not push anything on me except she just loved me. That was it. There was no, you have to do this, or, beating you over the head with scripture, or, any of that. Now, of course, yes, scripture is good. And of course, worshiping together is good. But his ultimate for all of us is just his love. And it is that unconditional. She didn't care what I had done in my past. And, so eventually I was like, okay, I don't know. But then I was like, I'm doing this. And everything in my life changed, everything for the better. I mean, I was getting more downloads. I was understanding science better. I was succeeding in my business. And, it's all because I put him first. And I feel like even with, you know, this growth, even with all of this, the number one thing I want people to know is he's number one in my life. And he has given us a beautiful future. Most people just can't see it. And so that's another reason I'm so passionate, because here's the principalities behind it spiritually. If you can keep people depressed, then they're hopeless. Okay. And hopelessness leads to all sorts of bondage, right? Fear, all of these things. If people see love and hope and light, that's when true healing begins, when there's hope. And so that is something that he has given me a direct mission to bring healing, love, and hope to this nation. I don't know exactly how it's going to happen, but I know it's going to happen. And he has already been bringing people into my life because I was like, I need people. I need you to bring me who I can trust. You're a great example of that. A week before, I had been praying for someone that I could count on with marketing. And as you could see, my marketing is nothing really as it is. I've been hiding, but he's been very clear to me. This is a bold movement. And so I'm making it.
Yeah, this guy's really excited to talk to you too because yeah. Well, I absolutely grab you, get you up here. I absolutely love
He wants to steal the microphone. He's got something to say. What you got to say, sweetheart? Hi. Hey.
big
You
voice. You got
singing?
big voice today going on, huh? Can you say mama or dada? Any words?
No
No,
words.
you just want to eat it.
Tastes good.
Dude, goober all over my things, dude. But this this might be a good edit this part out, huh, buddy? because I think that
Oh,
that
yeah,
might
there you
taste a
go.
little bit better.
Sure. Say again?
You have kids or
No.
anything?
The jury's still out on that.
You can borrow this one
Wait,
if you
say
want.
again?
I go, you can just
Right?
borrow this one every once in
Well,
a while
and
if you
see,
want.
that's another thing that, like, I raised kids that weren't mine. And, I've helped so many women who have not been able to have children now can have children. And so I've done my fair share in the reproductive area. So I don't know. I'm going to leave that open. Not right now, because I feel like this mission is going to be very important. It's going to have me traveling a lot. And it's just the timing is definitely a no for me, but I'm not going to say never. Because I love kids, but I also am like the cool aunt that gives them back.
Yeah, which I don't blame you for. I was the cool uncle for a long, long time, and then but Lauren and I didn't start having kids until she. Let's see. It's actually a funny joke. So our kid Lauren's a month older than I am, and and Lennox was born in between. So whenever her mother the other day was saying, Lauren, what were you? You were 39 when you had your first kid, and Paul, you must have been 39. I was like, no, I was 38. Uh, Lauren was 39. But yeah, we had our first kid at 39 or 38 actually, I think. Oh, you okay? And then second kid at 41, and we're not totally sure
Yeah.
we're done. We might be having one more. We don't know. We're still entertaining the idea, but also it's not easy, as you can see. Lauren's out of town, so that's why I'm taking care of a baby and doing this right now. But I meant it more. Do you want to borrow
Oh,
a
yeah,
kid every once in a
absolutely. I'm
while?
totally down for that.
You can just take this guy for a little
Absolutely.
bit. So I think that's a great. We
Yeah,
hit
good.
an
We
hour.
did.
You spoke for an hour, and I can't wait to talk to you again about this. I can't wait to get to work with you on some of this. I'll also be sharing this over my team so they can get to know you and utilize this for some of your AI business creation, your custom business AI. And you got a lot to say, huh? And here, actually, let me just
Yeah,
stop this so that
absolutely.
it will go. Yeah.
Yo, Flexner's dead, the Rockefellers too. The AMA's a relic, we're coming for you. Thought you buried the truth, left it in the dirt. But functional medicine's back and it's putting in work. Flexner's report, yeah, that was the start of a system built to tear real healing apart. Rockefellers cashed in, big pharma got paid, while the AMA kept the whole game rigged and played. But guess what, your empire's starting to crack. We're taking it back, no more knives in our backs. Raw milk in the fridge, fresh veggies on the plate. Regenerative farms, yeah, we're changing the state. Phoenix rising, we're burning it down. Functional medicine taking the crown. Big agro, big pharma, your time is through. We're sovereign, independent, and coming for you. No more processed lies, no more fake food. We're building a future where our kids can bloom. Poison and bare, we're bringing life back, putting roots in the air. Regenerative ag, where the soil's alive. Holistic health warriors, we're ready to thrive. No more pills for the pain, no more chemical chains. We're breaking addictions, rewiring brains from the clutches of greed. We're yanking them free. This is health for the people, not monopoly. Yo, big pharma, you thought you had it locked, but your house of cards is about to get rocked. We're talking raw milk, fresh greens, no stress. Functional medicine's here and we're bringing our best. Holistic health, yeah, it's taking the lead. While your system's dying, consumed by